So, Doug, thank you very much for joining us.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
So, let's just start by defining governance.
Yeah, governance is one of the three areas when we talk about governance, risk, and compliance. And the importance of governance is it ties the other two together. It sets the corporate security objectives. You know, many corporations, you can't just say, I want to be secure, but you need to think about the objectives of security. Are you merely going to be compliant? Are you leading the industry? How are you going to hold people accountable for their security postures and their divisions? So just defining what corporate security means in terms of objectives. Secondly, it's setting those policies. So it's putting those things to work. If that's your corporate objective, what are the policies to make sure those happen? And then thirdly, it's ensuring that it does happen, right? So it's the governance and the oversight. So just, recapping, define what security means to your organization in objectives, give a finer point to the definition through policies and procedures, and then finally provide the oversight so you ensure it gets done.
So to what do you attribute this rise in importance of governance for organizations now?
Yeah, what we've seen in the industry is people who have been brought into an organization to build the security program are pretty much done or have put in place some good security operations. And we're talking firewalls and IDS and security hardening and those types of things. And the missing component is, how do I get the rest of the organization to follow along and implement the security objectives that cover outside of IT, that cover HR and hiring and termination procedures, that cover facilities and visitor control and inspection of packages, that cover business continuity, which hits all business units and ensures they understand the protection requirements of their systems. So I think we're seeing the heavy lifting in terms of the security components of the network. That's been largely done. There's always work to be done there. But the biggest hole right now is the governance area.
So if we're seeing governance as a trend, then you must be seeing organizations starting to buy into the fact that they need to build security programs. Is that something you're seeing as well?
Yeah, we're absolutely seeing a lot more of this. Organizations are paying more attention to security organizations and building up the proper organizational structure because of a couple of events. They've had a major breach, they failed an audit, or they've recognized they've lost a customer due to security controls. And it's in the aftermath of these events that they recognize we need security business management, not technology. I see three things. One is the immaturity of the organizations, or the organizations, they're not used to where do we fit a senior level security person in the organization, in the structure. So they typically tend to come out of IT, and it's difficult to find a position where they're functioning at a business level outside of that area. The second thing you see is that that's what the pool of candidates is used to, is organizing firewalls and IDSs and antivirus and hardening of systems. So they're very good at that, and that's what they start with. And then the last thing is, it's the responsibility of one, right? If you can have security, responsibility be put on one person, people will accept that. But it's not going to be good for the organization, right? We're coming out of the era of the hero where they pick up everything and they do that, but it's not getting done for the organization. The other business units are not getting the attention they need. They're not grabbing the responsibility they have to do. So what I'm seeing this year is the era of the hero is over.
So you say that the era of the hero is over. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Yeah, a hero is someone who gets everything done by themselves, right? You understand security objectives, you understand the practices and procedures that need to be done, and you go out and you do them. And that's not what the organization needs in their senior most security person. What they need is someone who can help the other business units define their objectives, define the controls that need to be in place and the oversight, and help them to ensure it gets done, not do it all themselves.
So now that we've talked about the trend towards governance, what are some tips that you can give CISOs out there to actually move towards getting a good governance structure in place?
Sure. I mean, as always, start with business objectives and translate those as security objectives, and do that in a governance charter or some document that is officially sanctioned by the organization. Secondly, find a way to collect the right metrics to see that those objectives are actually met, and break it down per business unit. Within each of the business units, find your subject matter experts, include them in the development of the policies and the procedures, especially at the lower levels, and then finally help them have oversight.
Okay. Well, those are good general tips, but when you get into the culture of organization, how does that affect what that CISO can do?
Yeah, culture always affects an organization, and you have to consider that when you're laying down the policies and procedures. What are you going to allow? What are you going to restrict? Has to be accepted in the organization at the management level and somewhat at the lower level as well. But that being said, culture aside, the senior most security person has to have influence outside of a single business unit, which means they have to be a C level. If you're a C level and you're reporting to a director or manager, that's not really a chief something, right? A C level needs to report to the board or another C level and have that kind of influence, the budget, the authority, and the responsibility for security.